Welcome back to React Native Radio Podcast. Brought to you by Shits and Giggles. Any Zoom meeting can be made fun with Shits and Giggles. Episode 361, Gamemaking and AI Coding with Jamon Holmgren.
Hello, and welcome back. I have a very special... I'm not going to call you a guest. You're a guest host at this point. You'll never just be a guest. But I'm sitting here with Jamon. How are you, Jamon?
I'm doing well, Robin. It's so nice to be back. Even if I've been demoted a little bit. I didn't get
He's
fully
been demoted
demoted
to guest host. Just stealthily.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since you've been on the show. What have you been up to?
Completely nothing. Yeah, I've just been
nothing,
kind of lazing
absolutely
around,
nothing. Just twiddling your thumbs,
doing
gardening.
nothing. Of course. That's what I'm known for, is just not doing enough. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a whirlwind. I know we'll talk about some of the stuff around my game. So obviously.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a game.
People who have followed me for a while or listened to the episode know that I've built this game on the side. But it kind of took off a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be talking more about that. But more importantly, my granddaughter is now walking and talking. And
that is more important, I think.
Oh, totally. And she is calling me Papa.
Oh my gosh.
That's not what everybody told her to call me, but she decided I was Papa. So that's what I am.
So what's Kyra?
She's Mimi, and nobody told her to say Mimi. We don't know where it came from.
That's what my kids call my parents too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a common thing, but how did she come up with it? Because we weren't using it around her, but she decided that, yeah, I think we were saying that she was Grammy, and she was just like, no, she's Mimi. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, she has a mind
and now
of her
she
own.
Gets to decide for all of the grandkids that come after. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that she sets the tone. She's the first one. So
it's the privilege of being the first grandchild.
She's walking around just toddling. She's like a year in. She's getting, I think
she was born November, right? So like
so like in May it'll be like a year and a half. So it's getting closer. And but she's using a lot of like more advanced things. She can put together small sentences and whatnot. The other day she was telling my daughter-in-law, her mom, call Mimi over and over. So they FaceTimed, and it was the cutest thing ever.
Amazing. You're really enjoying grandpa life, or now papa life.
Papa life, exactly. There's really you hear grandparents say that it's just like pure joy, and it totally is. Like your own kids, of course, are great and amazing, but you do feel like this sense of responsibility and
you're shaping them and like making sure that they're learning right from wrong and like turning into good humans. And
none of that. I don't care about any of
them.
that for my grandkid. I'm just gonna enjoy. The parents got it otherwise.
That's so fun. Right. So Jamon's been making a game and being a grandparent and, running the company and everything. So we haven't had him on the podcast, but we are so lucky that he's gracing us with his presence today. And we get to talk about game making and AI coding.
I feel lucky that you invited me back. Thanks, Robin. I appreciate it. It's fun.
But before we get to talking about all of that, we, of course, need to hear about our sponsor.
Can I read it?
Yes.
You don't mind?
Please.
Okay. I'm going to do a bad job because I haven't done this in a while, but
go for it.
Infinite Red is a premier React Native consultancy located fully remote in the US. We are a team of 30 senior plus level. I think we're all staff level now. I don't know if we have any seniors left. I think it's all staff. Yeah. React Native developers and consultants and support staff. We've been doing this for over a decade now. If you're looking for React Native expertise, hit us up, infinite.red/radio. And don't forget to mention that you heard about us while wasting a bunch of time listening about game development and AI on React Native Radio.
It's even more interesting when you tell us which episode you heard about us on. We love
it. Is. Yeah.
We love that kind of metric. So
yeah, we don't get it enough.
All right. Let's talk about it. You made a game.
Yes.
How? Tell us how that happened.
Completely on accident. No, it came together. So first off, I need to let people know this game is not written in React Native. However, there are some real parallels between the game engine I'm using, which is called Godot, or it's spelled like Godot.
I just think of Waiting for Godot.
I think that's probably what it is.
Play anytime you talk about the game engine. I'm like, how much do you, if you're waiting for it to compile, do you say you're waiting for Godot?
See, you're way more high class and educated than I am. I've never heard of this play, but I have heard other people say that this is.
See, what's funny is I know about Waiting for Godot because my high school did it. Like the theater at my high school did it when I was in high school. So it just felt like it's something I'd known about for a long time. But.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's probably where it came from. But there's a lot of parallels between React Native and Godot. And let me talk a little bit about those. So in React Native, you have TypeScript compiled to JavaScript, or actually, generally speaking, bytecode in Hermes. And then it runs in an interpreter within, Hermes, of course, the game engine, within Hermes, the JavaScript engine that is built into React Native. And most of React Native is actually written in C++. And then there's like OS specific APIs that are written in, Swift and Objective-C and Kotlin and things like that. But there's a lot of C++ in there. And then the actual code that it's running, that you're writing, is generally speaking going to be Hermes bytecode, is kind of how it's shipped. And the biggest reason that you use React Native, and most people listening to this are going to be like, yes, this is just, obvious stuff that we already know. But the reason you do this is because then you can ship the same bytecode to multiple operating systems and platforms. And you can go to iOS, you can go to Android, you can even go to Mac OS and, other places, TV, whatever. So that's a great idea. Godot is the same. It's written in C++. It has an interpreter built in. It interprets bytecode. This time it's not TypeScript, but it's GD script. GD script looks a lot like Python, but it has types because it has like how Python has the significant white space and things like that. The functions are called func, F-U-N-C, and then you have classes and you have objects. And that's typically how that works. And if you want kind of an analog to components, they use things called scenes. So a scene is basically like a React Native component. Just think of it like that. You can even compose them the exact same way.
Composable, portable pieces of code.
Yeah, you can have a scene that has like a bunch of child scenes inside of it, and those child scenes have child scenes. So they're basically just like React Native components, or React components, I should say. Of course, we have like the functional approach, but Godot...
We didn't always.
No, it's true. And like... so there's slight differences, of course, and you have to get used to it. But I really liked that. I really liked that it had a similar paradigm, even though the language was different. But, you can adapt to a language and it was fine. TypeScript has a way better type system than GD script, way better. But GD script has a type system and it works and it, does what it's supposed to do. It just lacks things like generics. Like you can't provide a generic. You can't use a generic type. And unions and stuff. Like you can't provide two different types into a function that expects one of them without it being like a subclass or something like that. So there's some limitations there that have been very interesting to work around. But in general, it's kind of the same thing. It's just really focused on games and not so much on mobile apps or applications.
Right. But you still have to like, when you ship it, like it has to run on Windows. It has to run on like different kinds of systems, right? Does that?
Yeah, totally.
Is that also kind of a parallel?
Very much so. So you know how when you spin up your app, you have an iOS and Android folder, and those have platform specific projects in them. So you load up Xcode or you load up Android Studio. Instead of doing that, Godot almost takes like a Expo Go approach or a dev client approach.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Where instead you download an export template, and that's like a dev client or a custom dev client. So you basically get this dev client that's already there, which is just an app that's bare bones and it doesn't have anything in it, but it has everything else you would need to run it. And then you just inject your bytecode into it. And now like and like assets and stuff like images and whatever, and then you wrap it all up in an exe or like a .app for Mac, and then you can run it on Windows and you can run it on Mac, and then they also have Linux, and you can run all three. But you basically download these templates exactly the same as Expo Go, or very similar, I should say. Actually, not so much Expo Go, but the dev client, like the Expo dev client. And I was really surprised by how similar they were, because from what I understand, they're not exactly, it's not exactly like one came out of the other or anything like that. They just arrived at similar solutions. Because they were trying to solve the cross-platform problem. That's the biggest thing. Like, how do we do this in a way that we can kind of like have the same, compile down to the same bytecode and still have, good performance and all these different things.
Because we live in a world now where everyone has like different kinds of devices. It's not like everyone's running a Dell with Windows 95 on it.
And so, because in game programming, unlike in mobile, in game programming, it's like 90 some % Windows. A lot of games will only release Windows versions. And a lot of the game engines don't even support like cross-platform.
Which is crazy, because I would play so many more PC games if they would just run on my
Mac?
On my Mac, which is my primary computer, and it is plenty powerful.
Yeah, it totally is. And like, I don't want to like at the end of the day switch to a different machine to work on my game. I want to just have my machine, my Mac, and I don't know. I want it to be accessible to people, and I guess I've done React Native so long it's just unthinkable to me to like not do
to just like abandon a whole segment of the market.
I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
So Godot was a great fit for other reasons too. I won't go into, but I mean, as an example, I guess it works really well with Git. Where trying to get Unity to work with Git is just, you might as well. It's horrible.
Really?
I don't know. It's tough. But Godot is built like React Native, so you would have similar things. I did have to use like the large file system part, the Git LFS. I don't know have you ever done that?
I've never had to use it, but I'm aware that it exists.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what would you ever use that for? But now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you have like 250 megabyte model files and stuff, you really need those to live somewhere other than your Git repo. So it just has a reference to a file server, basically.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so there's so many parallels here that I think our React Native audience is going to find it interesting to talk about how this, how I'm working on that. And especially on the agentic coding side of things, because I think this is very broadly applicable. And where we do find parallels, because I'm on my game, I'm allowed to just kind of do what I want to do. It's just my game. It's just my code base. I can do what I want. Just like if you have a side project or whatever. And I try to bring those learnings back to Infinite Red and say, okay, let's try some of these ideas on our React Native apps that we're doing and see if they work and see if there's some parallels where they work on both my game, like my solo game making and the really important like client projects that we're working on with multiple teams and many, many people. That means it's a like generalizable concept that actually matters and not just some like random idea, which I have plenty of random ideas that wouldn't work, but
yeah, it's really become kind of a test bed for you.
Yeah, exactly. So the game Gunship Origins was announced a couple weeks ago, re-announced really, because I've had it out there for a while as Into the Dawn. But I signed a game publishing deal with MicroProse. Some of you older people might remember MicroProse way back in the day. In the 90s, I used to play games like Gunship 2000 and M1 Tank Platoon, and of course Civ. Like Civilization came out of that. Sid Meier was one of the founders. I actually know one of the other founders, Wild Bill Steely, who is a really, really interesting character. He's still making games to this day. He's a, past retirement guy, but he definitely still loves to make games, play his old games and everything. He even sent me a message saying that he is really excited that I'm rebuilding Gunship, which is really cool.
Well, and it's just cool that you're getting to like basically create the new iteration of a game that you played as a kid.
Yeah.
And enjoyed and actually was the inspiration for this game in the first place. But now it's like actually part of the franchise, which is
it's unbelievable.
Wild.
Yeah.
I bet you're still pinching yourself a little bit.
Totally. And Todd, of course, Todd, which you may have heard in a recent episode. He's going to be more regularly on this podcast. But Todd was like, I bet if you told, 13-year-old Jamon that he was going to rebuild and make the next gunship, that it would just be, like whatever, it's totally true. But yeah, I mean, it's been very interesting as a test bed for various AI coding concepts. And of course, I really care about code quality. I actually, when I first did it, I spun up an early iteration of various systems and stuff using AI back, 2024.
In the olden days.
In the olden days, back when it was like GPT-4 and stuff like that.
2 years ago.
Yeah. And I actually hit a wall and I ripped out most of it and I rewrote it from scratch. I just rewrote I took 5 months of coding. I mean, not full time, on the side, but 5 months of my spare time rewriting every system because it just wasn't good enough back then. And I was running into so many issues and all of those things. And then I was, I'd use tab complete, but I wrote everything by hand so that I understood everything and so that the code was very performant and it was very good for another year. And then December, everything changed for me.
Yeah.
And
December. We keep talking about December.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, if you're if you're listening to this much later, we're talking about December 2025 when, what was it? Opus 4.5.
Yeah.
And
Cloud Code kind of really took off.
Really kind of hit another level in terms of the agent's abilities and the quality that it was putting out and the things it was able to do.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a before and after line in the sand. And all of a sudden everyone was moving into agentic coding, and it was less AI just makes slop, and sort of oh no, this is where we're going. This is this is what we need to be doing. And so it was a real turning point, and it sounds like it was for you too.
Well, you and I had some conversations because we had just
October. Yeah. A couple months prior to this,
stood in front of our developers, 20 odd React Native developers, and laid out a strategy for AI. We had just done that.
And it was very AI cautious. The strategy, we're we need to be owning our code and not vibe coding and
tab coding's fine, reviewing with AI's fine, doing research. It was this
whole plan, and then
don't prompt code.
Yeah. Don't prompt code, and then everything changed, and then we're
a couple months later,
actually.
We thought we had more time. Obviously we knew that this was coming, but we thought we had a year, we had maybe 2 years, something like that. And it just hit us in the face. And you and I are sitting there are you kidding me? Now we got to walk all that back. I mean, well, it's not so much that we had to walk it back, but we have to adapt.
We had to adapt, and we had to be okay, what we said was true in October, and then things are different now.
Yeah.
And it's important that we aren't left behind and that we're making sure we know how to use this stuff and how to get the most out of it. And so you kind of took it as a personal challenge to basically use your game to figure out how to use agents.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I had it was a good idea to just go into a client project and be hey, I'm going to just start messing around with AI everywhere.
Right. Right. We have to be really careful with our clients, because they all have sort of varying degrees of trust with AI, or
for good reason.
Some of them are very AI forward. A lot of them are understandably cautious, which is completely fair, because when you have millions of users using your app, you can't afford to be on the bleeding edge and taking some risks. So they're understandably a little bit more cautious. So we need to make sure we're experimenting in ways that aren't going to screw our clients over. Yeah.
And I think you and Todd, especially, it would be a really good episode later to go deeper into that, how clients have received this, because, Todd is more on the operational side, and would have some really good insights there. So I'm running agents, I've got I'm prompting when I would run into a bug, let's say, I would just, instead of putting in a list, I would just put it into another agent session either I started with Cursor. I did a lot of Cursor. I really like Cursor, but I also switched to Claude Code and it was good. And I also have tried Codex and it's also good. And I've even switched now. Most of my agentic coding is in the Claude Code and Codex desktop apps. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I feel like everyone has a little bit of a Frankenstein workflow. Like,
oh yeah.
My favorite is to use Claude Code CLI inside Cursor.
Inside Cursor. Yeah. I did that for a while too. But I was spending too much time like babysitting agents. I would feel stressed and on call. Like these agents are going.
They
very
would make
demanding. These plans that I had to read and they were long and I'd have to like dig through all these, all this text and provide feedback. By the time I got back to it, all the context is gone. I've like lost from my brain and I've have to like reread everything. And I would just end the day exhausted, or the evening exhausted, because I'm working on this in the evenings too. That's not great. And I just thought there's got to be a better way than this. And I want to preface this. A lot of the people listening are going to be like, hey, my system already solves this. That's awesome. That's awesome. Everybody has their system, it feels like. Wants everybody else to use it.
We're doing a lot of parallel innovation right now, I think.
Yes, we are. I'm not interested in evangelizing people to my system, but when I talk about this, and I'm not going to spend the rest of the time talking about this, I'll talk more about the game and whatnot, but I do want people to hear these ideas and think about them. So a little bit of like, so I call this Night Shift, and it's really premised.
You did tweet about it, and we will link the tweet in the show notes for people who may remember.
In my blog article, which is at jamon.dev/night-shift.
Yeah.
If my website's not down, which it's because it's in QBasic. That's why. It's not vibe coded.
It's definitely not vibe coded.
Yeah. It's the flakiness is all me. Anyway, so my time's valuable. I only have so many hours in the day. There's only one of me. I can't clone myself. I only have so much wetware tokens. Well, you have hardware, you have software, and you have wetware. Wetware is brain.
Oh my gosh, is that where that? I've heard the term just like thrown around a little bit.
There's firmware
really
as well.
Know what it meant.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's right. That
Hardware,
is where firmware came in.
Software,
it's not hard. It's not soft. It's firm. And now we have wet. Oh my god.
I don't know. It sounds weird when you say it that way, but but I only have so many tokens in my brain before I get exhausted. And if I'm spending them reading plans and babysitting agents and being on call, that's not a good use of my time. And I also came to the conclusion that these plans were not very good. And it wasn't so much that they weren't good because the prompting wasn't good. I'm pretty good at prompting. I've been doing AI since 2021. I am one of the better prompters out there. I will say that and put myself up against almost anybody.
We were hearing about ChatGPT pretty much every day.
Yes.
The moment it was released to the world.
And Copilot before that. I wrote a whole article like 2 days before ChatGPT dropped talking about how to do AI coding like with Copilot. So I've been doing this a long time. It's not my prompting skills. Maybe a little bit, but those can always improve. But I'm one of the better ones. So what is it? Like why are these plans not very good? Well, they're not proven. They're just plans. Like everybody knows that plans only survive first contact with the enemy, right? Like when you actually get them, you start doing them, you start realizing that, my assumption here was wrong. This, I don't want to sit here and look at its half-formed, half-finished product. I want it to do all of it and then come back to me with it proven and show me what it did. And I'll review the code. I don't want to review the plan. I want to review the code because the code's probably going to be less than the plan or maybe it'll be more, but it hopefully will have.
It does seem like agent plans are pointless because it just ends up doing something different from the plan anyway.
There is that too. Yeah. But even if they do the plan, it just is not proven. And so I'm sitting there, it would have figured out some of the problems with the plan if it tried to do that. So I'm like, you know what? I want it to come back after it's actually proven itself. But this takes a while. You can't just run it and then like come back to it later because like you're multitasking and you're like watching it and it's just like, I don't know. Plus it's got to like run tests and all these things. So I came up with Night Shift. And the idea here is that during the day, it's my time. It's not the agent's time. I can use an agent to do maybe some interactive exploration, play around with things, do some research, just review my work. Like instead of me reviewing its work during the day, I'm having it review my work, which is very valuable. I'm also writing up specs. I'm writing up documents about like what I want the agent to do. I'm building a to-do list. I basically build this long backlog of things I want it to work on. And then when I'm done at the end of the day, if I'm not done with like a task, I just leave it as like, work in progress off to the side, right? And then I have an agent loop that runs a little bit like a Ralph loop, Ralph Wiggum's, like a little bit like that, but not very fancy. It's just an agent loop.md file that I point the agent at. The agents.md, you can use claude.md if you want, but the agents.md is just pointing to various documentation and where the files are to, to find them. And that is as slim as possible so that it can just do those things. But the agent loop is basically telling it how to do a loop of like taking one task at a time, doing it, validating it, doing everything it can to do as good a job as possible, bundling it all up into one commit with all the documentation, the change log, the, everything, and then moving to the next thing until it's done with its to-do list, and then giving me a summary so that I can read in the morning and review what it's doing. And so like last night, I wrote a bunch of to-dos and put them into my to-do list and then ran the agent loop. It ran for about 4 hours and it got like 6 of them done. This is the first night where it's just totally quit early. It had like 4 left and it just stopped and I don't know why. Generally speaking, in the past, it's done all of them. It doesn't matter how many I've put. It's done every single one of them. So I don't know. I'm going to have to go figure out why it stopped. But it did get 6 done, and I can go look at it at each commit because each one is a self-contained commit. And I can imagine, in a team setting that you're using maybe like stacked PRs or something like that, where each one builds on each other. And if I don't like the work, I can just revert the commit. I just revert the commit,
right,
and then edit the to-do or the docs. This is very important. I'll come back to that. Or whatever it is that led it astray, and then rerun it again tonight. And
right. And all you wasted was tokens.
Yeah. All I wasted was tokens.
Your own time.
Exactly. Because if I work, theoretically, if I was working 8 hours a day, I'm working more than that, but theoretically, the agent has 16 hours before I come back in the morning. That should be more than enough for an agent to finish everything that I told it to do. And if it didn't, that's okay. I'll review what it did get done, and then I'll let it work again the next day, because it's probably putting, too much in my lap anyway, and I'm not going to be able to write any new to-dos or new specs, right? So it's kind of a way to throttle your workload. And it's all about that. Since I started this, I feel way more rested. I feel way less on call. My agents are not running unless I am doing some research or something, but I'm not sitting there waiting. I don't care that they're idle. I don't care that they're idle. It's fine. They're going to catch up tonight. Like they'll do everything tonight and it'll be fine. When I come in the morning, it feels like I'm opening like a present of like all this work that got done while I was sleeping.
My agents did.
Exactly. And I don't have this, I don't know. Some people are just really easily able to just set down their work and walk away and not think about it. I've always had trouble doing that. I've always had trouble of like, I could get more done. Right. But it's actually really easy to do it if I know I'm going to kick off the agent loop, the night shift. I actually kind of like look forward to that moment of like, oh, I'm done. Kick it off. I'm headed out. Something's happening. Someone's working on my work. I don't feel bad about it. I know that things are getting done. I can just go and relax. And
I also feel like it would when you're writing like these super detailed specs, like the requirements for a feature, like as a dev who's writing all the stuff yourself, whenever I was writing that kind of spec, I always felt like I just wanted to get on with it because I'm writing all these details, but I know I'm going to be writing the code myself. So I might as well just like get on with it and write it myself. And so I never really would like come to a complete, like really good spec document because I would just want to get started. But it almost frees you up to just like go hard in like putting every single detail into this spec and like being super thorough because you're like, this is my work,
Yeah.
right?
You nailed it.
This is my value. And I'm going to, the better I can make it, the more successful my agent's going to be tonight.
Exactly.
When they build it.
Yeah. And the thought might come to the listener's mind, well, doesn't that take just as long? And the answer is no, because I'm at least 3 times as fast right now with the same quality code, because I am reviewing every line. And if it's not right, I fix it. I either fix it myself or I have the agent fix it the next night, with a to-do or by reverting and adjusting the spec. But you're totally right. The spec writing, I spent 4 hours on a thing and ran the agent, and it did a great job because I've spent 4 hours on the spec. But that would have taken me at least a week to do. Also, it found things that I didn't find when I was writing the spec, and it fixed them as well. A big part of this is you need to have validations. It's validations. If you don't have validations, automated validations, then you are not going to be able to do this. You have to babysit if you don't have validations, because you have to be the validator. You are the validator, but you want it to be as low of a workload as possible. So
right. The automation has to be in place.
Exactly. So TypeScript and GD script both have types. So, hey, can you run the type checker? Like, have the agent run the type checker.
Strict mode needs to be on 100%.
Strict mode. Back in the day when I was coding, I liked loose because I liked to go.
I remember making an episode about TypeScript in the early days of this podcast.
Yes.
And Jamon talking about never wanting to turn on strict mode.
Yeah.
And you changed your tune significantly.
I did change my tune over time. Well, TypeScript got better for one thing. It was very annoying in the early days. And secondly, I think that there are some pretty big differences when you're working with a team versus by yourself, and sort of the levels and et cetera. And generally speaking, when we're looking at levels of like an AI, they're better in some ways, but they're worse in others. And so you need that. So run the type check. Also, by the way, if I'm not writing the types and have to deal with all that stuff and the AI is, write all the types, linting. I was never a big linter fan. Like, it just felt like it was all this like I write clean code. I don't really make. I don't have a linter
telling me to put a comma here.
And I don't usually make like typos. It sounds weird, but I don't really like the way I write code. I don't write. That's why I can do live coding.
Yeah, you correct them like mid.
I correct them as I go. But like linting, go for it. Robust tests and TDD. This is another thing. Like you said, you didn't write specs. I didn't either, and I didn't write TDD. I didn't do test-driven development. Write the test first because I was like, I just want to get to working on the thing. Well, I can make the AI do whatever I want, so write the test first. And write very robust tests. Godot, it's funny, like game development does not have a testing culture, automated testing culture.
Interesting.
They do not. In fact, Godot's docs, the only time they mention testing is in regard to running the tests on the engine, not in writing tests for your game. There's no mention of testing your game. There are asserts that you can do. So it's basically like in dev, they get stripped in production, but in dev, it'll like check things that it wouldn't check, during the actual release. But I wrote a whole testing harness to do end-to-end tests. The AI can literally write tests that will fly helicopters around, and it'll look at telemetry, like how high are they, what's their kind of pitch and their roll and their heading and all those things. And it'll even do, this is the craziest thing, Robin. I can't believe that this works. It will spin up on my computer 8 instances of the game, 8 3D games running. Yes.
You have enough like CPU for that?
Well, I run 7 of them, or sometimes all 8, headless, so they don't actually show any of the like the graphic stuff, because I would run out of it crashes around 6 or so. I mean, I've had like 6 of them showing up, and you can see them all flying, but then it crashes at 7. It doesn't have enough. So, but yeah, I just run them headless, and you can watch like the telemetry rolling through. It's pretty interesting. But it will actually fly the helicopters around and be like targeting things and, shooting off the missiles and stuff and checking do things work.
Do multiplayer that way?
Multiplayer. So it's like running them up. Yeah. Starting a server. The other ones are waiting for the server to be detected. Like it uses like a UDP, server. So it's like WebSockets in a way. And so it just connects to it, starts, like doing, it clicks through the menus and stuff. It's pretty cool to watch. And so I have all that stuff. And then within that, because it's running in the game itself, it's not actually like some outside test harness thing that's just running outside of it. You can even do unit tests as you do the end-to-end tests. So you can actually check on the local instance. You can be like, what's the helicopter doing? You can reach into the internals and look at the state and see what's happening. You can read the save file and see what got written there and everything. So very, tons of tests. I think I have getting close to 100 different end-to-end tests now. And it takes a long time to run them all, but they catch a lot of things. And that's the whole thing, is like, I wanted to catch all this stuff before. When I sit down and start like testing, the thing should run. It shouldn't just crash with like, oh, you forgot a comma. Like, that should have already been fixed a long time ago. So the agent's doing all that work at night, right? And then the agent will also write a worksheet for each task. So this is actually a new thing that I just added. It's not in my blog post. I need to do a follow-up. But it writes a worksheet that another agent can look at and literally retrace its steps without like all the extra, exploration. It can just be like, this is what I did to fix this issue. Or this is as far as I got and I couldn't fix the issue. That's another thing. I just had one this morning, which we can talk about, where it kind of just failed. And it said, I got as far as I could. I don't know what's going on. These are all the steps that I did. And it leaves it there.
I want to hear about that.
I'll talk about that in just one second.
Okay.
One last thing that I think is super good too. And that is, two things. Sorry. Docs. You have to have great docs. And so I wrote up the first version of all the docs. And then from there, they're self-healing. So as the agent is doing work, it's also looking at the docs that it's accessing. And there's these things called review personas, where it'll be like, oh, I'm going to look at it from a performance standpoint, or, oh, I'm going to look at it from a code quality standpoint.
Or like military helicopter pilot standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. Like a domain expert. So U.S. Army aviation expert, look at this and see, does it make sense? And
it's really, it's a really cool system.
Yeah. And then each of those are responsible for different documentation. And so they'll update docs that were maybe misaligned, or didn't have enough information or something. So there's self-healing docs. And because it's all in the commit, I can look at the commit and see the docs changes, the worksheet that it did. Everything is all contained in one commit. It's like a squash commit. It's like, it's just one thing. It's like for a PR, and I can just review what docs changes did it do. And it's great. And then the last thing is, it actually has a file that it writes feedback for me. So it will write in there if my prompt was bad, if my spec was bad, if I told them something and then it had to go figure out that I was wrong. It gives me feedback. And so this morning I looked at the feedback doc, and the agent told me, you told me to run the main flow test 10 times. This takes around 12 minutes a piece. Do you understand how long this took?
That's so funny.
It is. It's hilarious.
It has a little attitude.
Yeah. I mean, I gave it maybe a little more attitude than it had, but it was basically telling me this, right? And I'm like, okay, you're right. Like, I should know that. I should know that it's going to take that long. I don't care. It's fine, because it's not burning tokens while it's running. Like, not very much. Like, it'll check in once in a while and see if it's still running, which is like checking, like tailing like a little bit of the log, and then it just goes to sleep again. So these end-to-end tests are just running. So that is really, really important. This morning, though, I did have a failure. I had a bunch. So I started doing a test flight with my brother Denton, who lives in Finland. So this is kind of the end of his day, and I'm starting my day. And we usually, he's working on the game as well. And so we do a little like, let's do a test flight. So we test the work that he's been working on, as well as the agent. I haven't even looked at the code yet. Usually it's like, I just got up. So started running it, and I got so frustrated because there were actually some regressions, some stuff that was fixed and is now broken. So now I'm going to have to go through the code changes. But the reality is that most of the time it's going to be like, okay, what docs are wrong?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Is there some validations missing? These regressions are things like, I was hovering over an enemy, and it wasn't even shooting at me. It didn't even notice me. It didn't even point the gun at me. It was just sitting there. And then I lost a lock on it. I couldn't even lock onto it anymore. So it couldn't lock on me, and I couldn't lock on it, but I could lock on other things.
But I mean, the beauty is, like you said, you revert the commit.
Yeah.
And no damage is done.
No.
And also, I think one of the most critical pieces of like how your workflow has developed and how you approach like developing Night Shift is that when it messes up, the work that you do next is in fixing the workflow and not fixing the bug or the regression or whatever the result was. You're not telling it like, oh no, go do this instead. You're saying, why did you make this mistake? Go fix my like agent loop. Go fix my documentation. Like you're healing the process rather than just like cleaning up the mess.
Exactly. Think about it like you are working with a junior developer and they screw up. Do you just kind of like silently without telling them fix it? Because the AI is not going to notice that you fixed it. Like,
right. No.
It's going to be a brand new AI the next time that you jump in, right? So how does it learn? How does an agent learn? Through the docs. The docs are how it learns because the agents.md points to the docs. Either it didn't get the right doc in its context or the doc wasn't written properly. So if the agent didn't get the right doc or if the agent didn't get or the doc wasn't written properly, you need to go in and hand tune it.
That's like a human problem.
Yeah, it's a human problem.
It's a human problem. If the agent is screwing up, it's ultimately a human problem.
Yeah, exactly. Like take responsibility for it. Go in there and write like you can write it better than the AI can. I know you can. If you don't understand the problem well enough, that's probably also a human problem.
You should probably go understand the problem.
Exactly. So right now, I actually don't understand the problem. I don't understand why the scanner isn't working, the radar isn't working. And I've worked on this thing a lot. So tonight, I'm fixing it by hand. Mm-hmm. I'm fixing it by hand so that when I go back to tell the agent or to update the docs, I know why it went wrong really well and what it should have done. And I don't just talk about like one thing. I might do something that's like specific about, in this one feature, you need to make sure you're doing this, but it's really more like broader things. There was an example where it brought in, so there was a state variable, which is, how you can like hold down a button and in some games it'll do like a circular progress bar or something where it's like dink, mm-hmm. and you could even have this in a React Native app where you hold on something and it kind of has this little like after a delay, it'll like trigger it. Right. But what if you held down two? You hold down two buttons at the same time. Previously, it would actually fire both. And I didn't like that. I wanted it to only fire one of them because these are things like start and stop the engines or end the mission or, swap seats or something. And so I was like, I told the agent, like, this is what I wanted. It had like a variable that was like, what button is the user holding right now? And it added another one, which is like, what button is the user really holding? Like this is the one that we're going to fire. And then it would check both. And I'm like, why do you need both? Like you just need the one that's like, what is the user really holding? Why are you trying to synchronize these two things? There's no point. I don't get this. And this is something that like, for whatever reason, Opus is not very good at. It just tends to do this a lot. And I have put a lot of safeguards in place to try to stop it. And it keeps happening. I even have it to the point now where at the end of the loop, it has to actually look at or at the end of a task, it has to go and say, did I add any new state? Okay. I demand an explanation why. Why did you add new state? If you add a new state, you better have a really good reason.
I love so I've seen a lot of the actual like Night Shift files at this point. Yeah. And I feel like there's one where you're actually just like talking to the agent as if it's a developer with low self-esteem. And you're like, true, you are a very capable agent. Like you can figure this out. Don't give up.
I did that because it gave up on large tasks. It's like, you need to be here to babysit. It literally was like, this needs to be an interactive session. And I'm like, no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
You're a capable agent. I know you can do this. I don't actually, but I'm pumping it up. And people think this is kind of crazy, but it will talk itself out of doing something. Yeah. Like that is actually part of the logic. So if I inject in there, you're capable and you can do this.
It's trained on human language and humans.
It is. Yeah.
Are really.
It acts like us for better or worse. It did stop on mine, and I don't know why, this last night. And the models do change, and the agents, the harnesses change and things like that. Maybe it hit a certain limit where Claude Code said, "Hey, you're running too long. Now you need to stop," or something. I don't know. I'll have to look at the context or whatever. Anyway, I know we've gone very long. I could go on about this for a very long time, but it is increasing my velocity. I do care about code quality. This is not a vibe coded game. I'm very, very clear about this.
No, we've embraced agents, but we do not vibe code around.
It's not vibe coding. I look at every line. I write code. I write lines. I edit code. During the day, it's my time. I get to write code, or I get to write specs, or I get to write to-dos, or whatever I want. At night, it's the agent's time. That's how I think about it. That's what I want people to think about.
I think there's going to be a place in the world for vibe coding. I mean, I think vibe coding is going to be great for the non-technical person who's using Claude Code to build a recipe app for, because they like to cook, or like something like that. There's going to be a place for vibe coding. And then there's going to be like serious software where we're using agents in a more like careful and thoughtful way with more human involvement. And it's going to be really interesting to see how everything shapes up.
Crazy times.
And I'm excited. I'm excited. I feel a lot of excitement and optimism with, I mean, everyone's feeling some uncertainty and stuff sprinkled in, but there's a lot of excitement and optimism.
Agree.
Well, yeah. Like Jamon said, we're out of time, unfortunately, but I knew he would have a really good time talking about his baby and his grandbaby and his baby.
My grandbaby and my electronic baby here.
Your electronic baby. Thank you
Only
so much
one
for
of them
coming.
shoots missiles, though.
Only. I would be very concerned if your granddaughter was shooting missiles. Maybe she'll play the game someday.
Yeah, maybe.
I bet she'll be playing the game when she's a little older.
Yeah, we already had 3 generations. We should have 4. My dad, me, and my son were playing.
Yeah.
And if we
you
had
just gotta get her playing.
That's 4.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Jamon. I'm gonna leave everyone with a joke as a little palate cleanser. What's the difference between a poorly dressed man on a tricycle and a well-dressed man on a bicycle?
I don't know.
A tire.
Okay.
That was from Gant.
This is what I missed.
You can send all your complaints to him on
course.
Twitter. All right, everyone. We will see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
As always, thanks to our editor, Todd Worth, our assistant editor, Jed Bartosky, our marketing and episode release coordinator, Justin Husky, and our guest coordinator, Mazen Chami. Our producers and hosts are Jamon Holmgren, Robin Hines, and Mazen Chami. Thanks to our sponsor, Infinite Red. Check us out at infinite.red/radio. A special thanks to all of you listening today. Make sure to subscribe to React Native Radio on all the major podcasting platforms.